Patrick's Garage. Now, in modern cars, a lot of systems under computer control. And what we can do if the computer bad? What can we do to force it to work? Unfortunately, there is nothing you can do. And other than hiring a mechanic. A lot of subcompact cars, modern cars, cheaply made vehicles. They got good gas mileage. You get the noise that comes and goes. And I think there is so many different things that can do. It is an old car. It is an old car, but it's still smooth as can be. So I doubt it's a bearing. Gas pedal mechanism hits at the firewall. But now we don't care about that. When we go under the hill, I noticed strange noise. Looks like a clutch fork bearing, but only when I go under. We can clearly see it in my last video. Now we can't hear it. So, turns out bearing touches clutch pressure plate sometimes. And you can ask me why. I'm trying to actually hear it now. But it's not easy to get noise again. And I figured that return spring for clutch now mislaid. And I can't find it now. Maybe I store it anyway in a garage. So we can't blame the bearing. We can blame a little spring, which is absent now. The spring a little pull back the bearing from the clutch pressure plate, so the bearing not touches the plate. And when we adjust clutch cable, should be a little gap, approximately 3 millimeters. Now spring mislaid and gap inappropriate, and from time to time touches the clutch pressure plate. Now in this car, clutch system Borgberg, and I should say that Borgberg very reliable system, and I suspect not available now. So I hope I can find this return spring. And what I have to say today, if you're not mechanically inclined, I don't advise buying a used car, because they generally need an awful lot of work. If you're mechanically inclined, they can be fun. But if you aren't, I wouldn't buy a used car. When I was a kid, I dreamed about electric cars. But even today, electric cars are still on their infancy. So I decided to drive old proven car, and I wouldn't buy new cars. I wouldn't buy overpriced garbage. If you have old car, you can store it forever. A lot of beautiful cars we can buy today. But who the heck going to fix it when it breaks? It's bad enough even in the big cities to find out anybody that knows how to work on modern electronic. You don't want to buy old luxury car that have a lot of electronic. All that stuff's going to break and cost a fortune when they break down. Everything breaks eventually. But yes, all wears out with age. Even my old simple car suffer from salt every winter. The frame in excellent shape, but you know this frame and body as unibody construction. Suspension, especially front suspension, control arms, they will rust out on most of vehicles because the salt on the road chews them up in the winter. All little stones from the road hits to the bottom of the car. Now I think the bearing is making a noise that bothers us. And sometimes the noise gets more prominent. You know, door seals can be used from 240 series doorways exactly the same. And here we see holder for seal rust out at the bottom of the door. You know, seals from 240 series available even today, you can googling. We wrap it inside this gap. Cut salt, choose bottom part of the holder. Now you see rear arch was replaced. Don't trust all guys' tales about indestructible Volvo. And here, let's look. You see clutch fork right here. But as I said today, return spring is absent. And clutch cable, maybe you remember as we adjusted it. And let's look which spring we need. And let's look at spare parts catalog, original catalog. Spring number 58, as we can see. And let's look number of this part. This part called return spring. This is not so expensive as we can easily find it. We can guess about spring. Maybe I would never have known that spring absent until I started looking under the car. And this spring not so expensive and we can easily put it to its place. And first of all we need to get it to install. And now to make the noise less annoying, we need to repair the radio. Here we see date 9 June 1999. Green plastic buttons, through visible plastic for illumination, grooves, central plate. We can use CD as additional hair socket for CD. We clean this panel with rains water. And very interesting what inside. Very curiously. And as I figured, these cheaply mechanisms are interchangeable. We can replace them from one to another. And maybe motors interchangeable. Now it's rarity. I don't know that this tape mechanism can be interchangeable. 3 different decks, but the tape mechanism with same fittings. But the electronic parts differs. A lot of parts in old radio. And why I stored this rubber part, I don't know where I can use it. Maybe just memory about original number. Also rarity, we can rid of it. Looks ugly now. We look inside, here you see additional holder. Maybe previous owner installed it. Hot air ducts we see under the dashboard. And I think this additional holder very useful. And we put duct tape. And you can see we went the cheap road with this duct tape. Wires to the speakers was installed before. I find them under backrest, rear backrest. Wires diagram we see we not covered with tape it. And we see under rear shelf Speakers, two speakers, left and right. Very powerful, for me at least. Now, please consider sharing this video with someone who like old cars or planning to buy old car. Share this video on Facebook group, on Twitter. You can share it all over the place. Thank you for advance.